Guys, name's Jenny here. Got an update video. I wanted to do this a while ago, but unfortunately it wasn't in stock, and this is the army that I've always really wanted to go and do. And I got the Team Yankee starter set a while ago, so I can include these guys in this army, the T-80s. I don't know if I will, but I think they're cool models, and oh, do I spoil it? Yeah, I think they're really cool models, and I think that they would go really well with this army that I am putting together. I managed to pick up these guys. These guys are pretty cool. This is from the starter set from Battlefront. So this is the T-72B army deal, which I think is 7 T-72Bs with ERA, which is this stuff here, explosive reactive armor, 5 T-55s, 2 Heinz, 2 Fitters, which are Sukhois, and some AA in the form of, not Gaskin, I can't remember what they're called, but they're like this little truck thing. They're pretty cool, actually. They're a four-wheeled vehicle. And I also got some Panzer Grenadiers that will be riding in BMP-1s with missiles on the top. This is a T-55. They're pretty cool. They're very cheap. I think a unit of them is like 16 points. They're not very good, but you can get a lot of them very cheaply. Fun fact about the T-55, this tank is the tank that James Bond rides in GoldenEye, which is pretty, I don't know if that's cool or not, but I mean, I bet they were wanting to drive one of these guys, but they had to settle on a T-55. These things are still kicking around. A lot of countries in the world still use these. This is the T-72. These are definitely being used at the moment. This is with explosive reactive armor, which is basically, it's basically armor. Oh yeah, I'm watching Stranger Things at the moment. It's basically armor that's designed to explode, which sounds a bit counterintuitive. It's designed to explode to stop rockets like javelin missiles hitting it. So basically, when the missile comes in, it detonates and basically just throws it off, stopping it, making a full penetration. Yeah, no, how are these like to put together? I've got the sprues here. It's not really an unboxing, it's more like I got this giant wad of sprues. So this is the T-72. This is basically a T-72 sprue. This is the T-72 sprue here. But what you get, oh yeah, this is it here. That's part of the AA vehicle. I'll get to this in a minute. That's very cool, actually. Here we go. So here's the ERA side bits. These bits make putting the tank together a lot easier. The barrels here are amazing. They go in no problem at all. The ERA is like, it's pretty easy to put on. Yeah, and you get 5 of these. So you can either build this as a T-72, or you can build it as a T-72B. The East Germans, which is who I'm running, they were, if you run East Germans, you'll be running them as M's, and these are B's, and the Russians use the proper T-72s. It was an export version. Yeah, and here we have the fitter. I've heard a few people have issues with this, which is a shame. Yeah, it has resin parts, which is going to be a lot of fun to deal with. Yeah, they're in here. I left them. I wanted to put them in a special baggie so I didn't lose them. Here, this is a bit unco, sorry team. This is the hind part of it anyway. It is a mighty, mighty helicopter. I mean, look how big that is. It is huge. I'm looking forward to building that. In it, yes and no. Detail-wise, it is very nice. Problem is that this thing is... the magnets on it are going to be terrible. So I'm going to look at how I'm going to do that. But in my opinion, this is like one of the coolest things about this set is this. These I bought I bought these a while ago. I've also got a paint set as well. I can whip that out. I bought a lot of these a while ago, and I've got the updated cards. I just wanted to show off the East German stuff because this is what I was planning on. I'm planning on playing. That starter set has yeah, like I said before, the contents of it. But the reason which I think is really cool, and I've got a couple of warnings about it too, actually. You have it comes with all the cards for every single unit in that army can be used for Warsaw Pact. So what that translates to, pardon me, sorry guys, is it can be used as Russia, Czechoslovakia, Polish, and East German. And all of those cards are included in the set. All of them are included. My one didn't have like the Poland Forces booklet, but that's not so bad. It's like a mini little teeny tiny booklet about this size. Yeah, mine didn't come with that, but I'm not going to get too cut up about it. So yeah, and you get all of the cards in here, and every single unit gets a card, which I think is really cool. Now, on Tabletop did a video, and they were like, oh, it comes with decals. That isn't true, and I would be a little bit on the skeptical side. Like, I wouldn't say on the skeptical side, but be aware, if you buy this set, it is great value for money. You're getting all the cards for multiple different factions. So, 4 major factions you're getting the cards for. That is awesome. The problem is that you don't get the decals for them. You do for the fitter, but you don't get it for the hind and all the infantry. You do get tank like numbers, but if you note like this little thing here, the old, I think people sometimes think it's like looks like the McDonald's sign. That you don't get those in the box. Like, so Poland, the Polish get their own symbol, the Czechs get their own symbol, East Germans and the Soviets, they all get one. Unfortunately, those aren't in the set. Do you have different decals for the fitter, but unfortunately that does not apply to these tanks, and that's a real shame. The other set, which has also come out, is that's infantry focused. So that's loads of BMP 1s or 2s. The Russians have access to 2s. Oh, sorry. The Russians have access to 2s far more easily than the Eastern Bloc have access to R2s. Yeah, they just don't get them. Yeah. In terms of the points, I think the Russians are the highest, followed by the Polish. East Germans are like mid, and Czechs are the worst. The Czechs and Team Yankee are basically they're not very, I think their training is like Soviet level, I think. They might be slightly more skilled, but they don't have morale. They basically just like, if anything goes wrong, they're out of there. They just bolt at a moment's notice. The East Germans are quite good in terms of their skill. So these guys are like good at doing blitz moves and stuff like that. The Polish are very good at, they've got very high morale, they've got good counterattack, and they're relatively well skilled. So that's why they're a little bit more expensive. I would say the Polish, if you want to get Poles, the BMP starter set, I reckon, is worth picking up. I also got some Panzer Grenadiers as well. Some of the basing's fallen out, but I'm not reviewing the basing. I got them for $14.95, which is pretty reasonable. And one of them's kindly decided to fall out. So here we go. Here he is. Here. These are really nice figures. I used to deal with Battlefront figures in the past. Unfortunately, he has just... Oh, there we go. Perfect. There's really nice detail on these guys. They will need flash removal and super glue, but it won't be so bad. And I'm going to quick shade them because they're metal and you don't want them to chip. But yeah, no, the figures are nice. They're a lot more detailed than what they used to be. A lot of those old figures used to be, like the metal ones used to be, oh boy, they were rough. Yeah, they were. I'd also say sorry to go back to it. If you were to get that Polish starter set, and this is going to sound real weird, not the Polish starter set, but the motor rifle unit, which is like, I don't know, it's like X amount of BMPs, Soviet block infantry. You won't be able to use Soviet infantry with East German infantry. East German infantry have these like weird helmets. And then Soviet infantry, the thing when you hear stories about the Soviets, I mean, when you think of the Soviets, you think, oh, well, they'd have a pretty modern army in, World War III, the one that hasn't happened, in terms of the story of Team Yankee. You would have thought they would have like a pretty modern army, but they really don't. Like, I mean, their vehicles, sure, but just to a degree, but like if you look at a lot of their infantry, they're basically using uniforms that were around in like World War II, like 40 years old. But, whatever, you don't really care about what you've got, who cares? I mean, if you've got, expendable troops, then, the East Germans are pretty. I've got some pretty good stuff. This is the T-72B. They're apparently really good with the East Germans. But I've got to finally go back to my Poles, to the Polish, because I keep getting distracted. So the motorized infantry unit, which is like, I think it's like 8 or 9 BMPs. I don't know off the top of my head. Frogfoot, and then you get some like other stuff. You get 2 Frogfoots, and you also get 5, I think you maybe 7 T-55 AM2s. Now, there is a trick to that set, and it sounds real weird, but there is a trick. And what that trick is that these guys can be used in Fate of a Nation, and they can be used in Vietnam. And that's sort of like, well, why is that a good thing? I mean, I can kind of use these guys in, okay, but I play Russians. Why would I paint them differently? Why would I get those sets? I don't play any of those games. The reason why you get the Fate of the Nation sets or the Vietnam set. But the Vietnam set is actually really good if you play Iraq, and I'll explain why. Because in that set, I think it's called like the Ironclad unit, and I think you get like 9 T-55 AM2s No, sorry, 955 AMs. No, sorry, 9 T55s that can be built as T55 AM2s. It's a multi-part kit. So you can make it as the older version. That the East Germans can run the T55. I don't know why you would. I mean, they're real cheap, but I mean, T55 AM2s are pretty cheap too. But you get 9 in the set, which is amazing. You get 9, and it's in New Zealand. If I get it from Battlefront directly, as in I go to their offices, which also sell Battlefront products, I get it for $97, I think it is, which is really good. And I think like 2 boxes of them is 114, which is a lot. Like, it's pretty good, but whatever. You can easily, if you were to get that set and that infantry set, you would have enough for 14. You could run like 2 14-man units of BMP, like BMP, not BMPs, T55 AM2s. That's really good. They aren't an amazing tank, but you can get a lot of them, and they've got an okay gun that will be able to like punch through some light armor or get some side shots on a tank, take objectives, support infantry. Most Warsaw Pact countries have reasonably good infantry that are like, some of them are better trained than others, but you can get a lot of them. And if you put them on park them on an objective, they're very difficult to shift. Particularly like the Czechs. The Czechs, the Russians, I would say, are right up there too. The Czechs, just by sheer numbers, can like hold areas down. The problem with the Czechs is that their morale is terrible and they will run. The thing with the Czechs is they do get some pretty cool stuff. Like they get these like mobile howitzer things. I think they're called Danas, and they're pretty cool. But yeah, no. How am I gonna paint these guys? Well, that's a good question. I'm gonna paint them. Sorry, with this. I got this set, this paint set for 28 NZD. It's pretty good. It is the East German armor and infantry set, and you can do the. I'm going to paint some of them in that scheme down the bottom. You don't necessarily need an airbrush for Team Yankee stuff. Not really. I think in World War II, probably a little bit more, particularly with German stuff, because soft edge camo, that kind of deal. If you really wanted to be, like, particularly with bolt action or anything like that, and you were doing, like, late war Germans, you could basically just make them, like, look rough as guts. Like, they've just come out of the factory and they've just shoved them in for combat. But yeah, these tanks were quite fun to build. They weren't too bad. They went together pretty easily. I'm planning on doing the AK Interactive on them as well, so that will be varnish, gloss varnish, and then do the filters and everything, and the washers, and then weathering on the tracks, and yeah, they should look pretty nice actually. Team Yankee stuff doesn't take much to make it look really good and really pop, so I'm looking forward to doing that. The T-72B, I think they are gorgeous models. They're really nice, good detail on them. They look a lot meaner than the T-72. They're way more blocky, which I think is really nice. Yeah, I think they do look really cool, and mean and nasty. And this actually is like a really good tank for them, because like the East Germans are pretty cheap. A lot of their stuff isn't too expensive, so it's not so bad. And these guys are like real cheap. These guys are like dirt cheap. The other thing as well, particularly with these guys, East Germans, is that, and I will get them eventually, but the East Germans have access to really good artillery for the Soviets, because they have a 4+ skill check. The Russians have a 5, So these guys are very well trained. So you don't have to worry about, fours. You're worrying on fours, which is like 50-50. You're rolling 3 dice. So you've got relatively good odds that their artillery comes in. And their artillery is cheap. Like a hail battery is, I think, 10 points. A unit of 3, I think, is like 6 points. So yeah, no, they're really good. Anything else? Yeah, no, I think these cards are brilliant. I think these cards are really cool. Yeah, and you've got like they come with special rules as well, so you can just follow along, which I think is really nice. It's got your points on here as well. So I mean, the amount of it cuts down, particularly for someone like me, where I just find it easier to organize things. These make things so much easier. They make things so much easier. Like your opponent, like you're not flicking through a codex. You can just basically be like, all right, well, what are the stats of a Panzer? Panzer 20 T-72 Volksarmy HQ. So he's got an 80 centimeter gun, which is impressive. 80 centimeter gun, rate of fire 1. Well, not great. I mean, rate of fire 1 is like, it's one shot. It's not great. No. But you'll have 5 or 6 in a unit. So that's what, 5 shots. Hitting the Germans on 4s or 5s. I mean, it's doable. It's doable. Or anybody else, or any other NATO faction. Yeah, and you can give them the Songster missile. And the Songster missile is pretty good. Yeah, 20. Oh, anti-tank 21, guided and heat. Oh, it's okay. Yeah, it's not great, but I mean, I don't know. Might be all right. But yeah, that's the one thing I've very quickly learned in these games is there's this sort of weird kind of meta in Flames of War and I've never really played Team Yankee, but it definitely was in Flames of War when I was playing, is that like no one wants to play infantry because infantry are miserable to paint. They are terrible, and I don't blame people who don't like painting infantry in this game. But I think their infantry are pretty easy to do. You don't have to worry so much about like, I mean, on here it says like you've got the German camo medium brown for their uniform camo. If you look at uniforms for sometimes they wore them for East German infantry. They predominantly wore like this khaki colour, and then they would have like these sort of like raindrops on their uniforms. Yeah, no, they don't worry about those. Not really, because like you're painting these tiny wee figures. If it was like if it was like bolt action or something like that, I would be like, yeah, fair enough. Like put in the effort if you want to, but if you don't, whatever. But if you're doing them on this scale, no one's gonna know. No one's gonna call you up. No one's gonna notice unless they're like that excitable. But yeah, and these I think they're really easy to put together. The beam I foolishly when I got these out, I foolishly built them as BMP2s. Because I was like, oh, mate, I can run a unit of these guys as transports, and then BMP2s as transports, but no, you can't. History with the BMP2 is, I think, right at the end of the Cold War, like, not when the Berlin Wall fell, but when it was in the process of falling, the Russians gave the East Germans, like, I don't know, I think it was like 25 BMP2s, and they just predominantly just use ones. There's nothing wrong with ones. The alternative option that you have to these are BTR 60s, which are basically just like a six-wheel truck thing. But there's nothing wrong with BMP ones. They're quite good. You can use them as transports, you can use them as observation posts. They've got some anti-tank in the form of the missile on the top, and they've got a cannon that's like relatively good against killing infantry and shooting at anything that's lightly armored. But yeah, no, I'm really looking forward to playing this army, building this army. And yeah, I'm gonna see if I can struggle with some aircraft. I might do. I'm still building tanks. I've got so many. I've got like 12. I bought an extra box of them because I was like, oh man, that's so cool. Because I was like, oh, I can't wait. But yeah, no, I think they are a really fun army. I kind of wish the Frogfoot wasn't a Soviet support unit. And they actually, the East Germans used them. But I'm quite happy to use a fitter. I think the model for it looks pretty cool. And I'm willing to give it a go, build it, whatever. And just, I don't know, I might struggle with it. I might get mad and throw it, but hey, look, I'll just give it a crack. It can't be that bad because these are great. These are real fun. And if you want to get into Team Yankee, these new starter sets are really nice, good value for money, and you get so many choices. These cards are brilliant, and Battlefront did a fantastic job of not only condensing rules, but making these rules easy to follow, easy to read, and cutting out a lot of the unnecessary stuff that you find in some games like this. I think both of those sets are brilliant sets, and if you can track one down, I would definitely recommend you do. So yeah, I'm gonna have continue to have a nice weekend. Yeah, and I hope everyone has a really nice weekend too. So I'll speak to you guys soon. I'm going to be doing these. Well, obviously, I'm going to paint my hind like this, but I'm definitely going to paint my tanks like this. So with soft edge, not with soft edge, but with hard edge camo. So I'm really looking forward to that. Putting some filters on these bad boys and etc. and rolling them in future because I'm hoping to get some games out of these guys because as much as I like Warhammer, Ninth edition Warhammer is a bit of an old dumpster fire, and Flames of War, I think, is doing a really good job, as is Warlord Games with bolt action, which I'm really enjoying at the moment. So yeah, yeah, repeating myself again, but you guys have a good weekend, and I'll talk to you soon. And yeah, happy painting, happy playing, and happy building. So catch you later, guys.